With an election date now set in stone and Labour seemingly well ahead in the polls and with the bookmakers, we are eagerly awaiting the Labour manifesto being released and what this could spell for your pension and retirement if they do come to power. Even though we don't have the official document at the time of this recording, Labour and the Shadow Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, have promised a full review of the pensions and retirement landscape. As they've been somewhat light on detail, this video is going to look to explore some of the potential changes that they could make and what this could spell for your retirement, pension and savings on the whole. Writing in the Express back in April, Starmer committed to keeping the triple lock. For those of you who don't know what this is a promise that the state pension will increase each year by the higher of either the average increase in earnings across the UK, inflation, or just a flat rate of 2.5%. This is why in April, the state pension increased by over 8.5% year on year, and the full state pension is now £221.20 a week, which equates to, we'll call it £11,500 a year. The triple lock is in place to protect retirees' state pension income being eroded by price inflation. The Conservatives have already promised to keep the triple lock, and it would be a very unpopular move if either party did try and meddle with the state pension. For those of you who would like more information on the state pension, I've done a video on this, a more comprehensive video, which looks at it in more detail. One of the biggest advantages of saving into a pension is that your contributions can benefit from something called tax relief. This is given in the form of a contribution, and it's to encourage you to save for retirement. Rather than award the tax relief at the highest marginal rate of income tax that it currently is, there are rumours that Labour could introduce a flat rate of 30% across the board, which would hurt higher rate taxpayers. Let's look at tax relief in more detail and how powerful this can be. If you're awarded tax relief, this means your pension provider will add the tax relief to your contribution once it's received from HMRC. It's essentially free money, I like to call it anyway. Tax relief is granted at the highest rate of income tax that you pay. If you are a basic rate taxpayer, this means that you'll get 20% tax relief. If you're a high rate taxpayer or additional rate taxpayer, it gets even better. Tax relief will be paid at 40% and 45% respectively. For basic rate taxpayers, for every pound that you put in, this becomes £1.25. In other words, it's like having a 25% boost to every contribution. If you contribute £100 to your pension, with tax relief, the contribution would become £125. This is why pensions, in my opinion, can be such a powerful savings vehicle. How about if you're a high earner? Well, it gets even better. If you're a high rate taxpayer, you will get 40% tax relief. 20% will be added to your contribution automatically again, and then you can claim the remaining 20% back on your tax return. You can see on the screen now the overall cost of making a £100 pension contribution. For a high rate taxpayer looking to make a £100 pension contribution, this means it would only cost you £60. High rate tax relief is quite a contentious issue, with many think tanks arguing it's unfair that higher earners get more tax relief than lower earners, and you can make a case for this when you see the example we just shown you. The way I have described tax relief being awarded is based on a pension scheme that operates the relief at source method, which covers most but not all defined contribution pension schemes. If you've got a DB pension or even a small number of occupational defined contribution pension schemes operate the other way, which is known as a net pay system, which is different to the examples above. When it comes to trying to invest tax efficiently, there are many ISAs out there, so much so that it can be confusing for Joe Blogs. With cash ISAs, stocks and shares ISAs, lifetime ISAs, help to buy ISAs, and the Conservatives also recently announcing a further allowance for investing in UK companies, this would leave even the biggest financial nerds somewhat confused. Whilst Labour are again light on detail, they have promised to simplify the ISA landscape, as the argument is that with so many options it causes analysis by paralysis, and many investors and retirees don't take advantage of these fantastic tax efficiencies. The lifetime allowance, which was a cap of £1,073,000, was the maximum amount that you could have in your pension benefits without incurring a penalty. This was abolished this year by the Conservatives, as the argument was that many high-earning public sector workers were retiring, such as doctors, as the incentive of working and saving into the generous pension scheme no longer made working viable. This in turn, so the argument went, led to an exodus of employees, which put a further strain on the NHS with unintended consequences, leading to longer wait times and all the rest of it. Labour have promised so far that they will reverse that decision with the lifetime allowance and reintroduce it. Although Labour had suggested an exemption would be available for NHS workers and civil servants, according to reports, again this is all rumours though, they've abandoned this idea and will proceed with a blanket lifetime allowance cap. So what do you do if your pension benefits then are close or above the previous lifetime allowance cap? Should you carry on contributing to your pension with the threat of a lifetime allowance tax charge looming over you? This is an extremely complex area and it could be a video in and of itself, and I don't think there is a right or wrong answer, and it's impossible to make the right decision when we aren't in possession of the full facts. One course of action that you may have heard about is to preempt the lifetime allowance being reintroduced if Labour do get in and jump the gun and crystallise your pension benefits, with the argument being that if the LTA is reintroduced, they won't just retrospectively assess your crystallisation benefits against the old cap. Again, this is an extremely complex and uncertain area of pensions, and if you do fall into this bracket, I wouldn't act rashly, and it could be one scenario where professional financial advice could be worth its weight in gold. It's also worth noting that even though there is currently no lifetime allowance, which sounds fantastic on the surface, there is a cap on the tax-free cash that you can take from your pension benefits, which is 25% of the former standard lifetime allowance, just to make it easy. And you can see the amount on the screen now. This does make contributing to a pension less attractive if you're going to be up at the limit or above it. Put another way, say your pension benefits were valued at, let's call it 2 million, and you had no LTA protection, your tax-free cash wouldn't just be 25% of the 2 million, but your tax-free cash would be that maximum cap that we'd seen. That's not to say you should stop contributing to a pension if you do fall into this camp. It's just something to be aware of again. Well, the UK makes up around 4% of the global stock market by market capitalisation, and politics as well as wider geopolitical events have tended to have little effect on the long-term global stock market performance, as you can see on the chart. Shrugging off events such as the banking crisis, Trump coming to power, numerous wars. If you're considering how you can take an income or money from your pension, watch this video which looks at how you can potentially increase the tax-free cash from your pension.